Anywho, we are done watching the Mets when one of the most exciting games I have seen in a long time. And I haven't been watching baseball too much here and there. But this year has been great. It's, Yankees and Mets are both in the playoffs, and it's just been very competitive. The Astros are out. You know, the vibes are vibing. Anywho, we're here to talk about basketball. We're going to do our tiers list. And, you know, the cat trade, I think is the last big real trade before training camp starts. And preseason is right around the corner. So a lot of teams have a lot of things to prove. So we are here to give our tiers. And again, every year there's always about 4, maybe 5 teams that are championship contenders. We'll see if it's changed or not. And you know, you see the tiers up there. The bottom is, listen, Cooper Flag. It's a Cooper Flag type of year, and teams don't want to win. Those teams that are down there, they just don't want to win. They just don't want to win. Anyway, we'll go around. Maybe we'll do East West. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Our first team we're gonna pick is Milwaukee, and they are, for me, not a championship contender, but they potentially be a conference final team. And this may change. Like, we may put them here, and then we see how things develop, because I don't know what I'm gonna pick here, but we may move them depending on how the rest of the list shakes out. So let us go to our next Western Conference team. This is the Utah Jazz. They're going to compete. They're going to be outside the play-in. They have Lauri Markkanen back, who I think is going to get traded next offseason. He's not eligible to be traded until next offseason. There's a whole offseason thing. His agent and his team waited until the day after, because you're not allowed to trade somebody until 6 months. So they waited to the day after, 6 months to the day after the trade deadline, if that makes sense. So if the trade deadline is February 11th, they signed a contract on, let's say, August 12th. So it's exactly 6 months the day after, so he can't get traded this year. That's the basic premise. He can't get traded. But I think they're going to be competitive. Playing in Utah is no joke. It's not easy. They are loud. They are aggressive, sometimes racist. This is a fact. So, but yeah, they still have a pretty good team there, very young. Let's see if Danny Ainge makes any other moves besides that. Jordan Clarkson, potentially. I think he's a free agent after this year. So they have a few options to go, whether they're going to completely tank. But I think as of right now, as currently constituted, they are going to be outside of the play-in. Let's go to the Nets. And if this is not a Cooper Flag team, there is no other team that could be a Cooper Flag team, because they purposefully said, we will not trade Mikal Bridges unless we can get our next 2 picks back next year, which is Cooper Flag, and the year after, which is, I think, can also be a deep draft. So they got their picks back from Phoenix. Right? Was it Phoenix? Yeah, Houston had their picks, but Phoenix originally traded them those picks. Anyway, they made a trade with Houston, and they sent them Phoenix's picks to get Phoenix's picks from them. The Nets had a bunch of first-round picks from the Phoenix Suns. Later picks after Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal are going to be retired or on another team, as well as Devin Booker. So let's say 2031, 2033. And they got that in the Kevin Durant trade. The Rockets got a bunch of Nets picks from the Suns. I can't remember, was it the James trade? I don't know. I don't know how they got that trade. I can't remember. But anywho, so the Nets got their next 2 picks back from Houston through Phoenix, and then they made the Mikal trade so that they can fully tank. And that's when they got the 4 or 5 first-round picks from the Knicks, which are irrelevant because they're all within the next few years, and we're supposed to be competing for a championship. And I'm saying we because, yes, if you don't know by now in this channel, I am a Knicks fan. Houston, I think, is going to be a play-in team. I think they could also be a playoff team, but the West is just so deep this year. They're still relatively young. Jalen Green had a really good bounce-back year, but the problem with Jalen Green is he plays better when Alfred Sengun is not playing, because when Sengun was injured last year, Jalen Green really took off and showed his stuff. And I think if you ask the Houston Rockets, they'd rather keep Sengun so they can get like a Joker light and then just deal Jalen Green because he's just a volume scorer. So Jalen Green may be on the move for a veteran. Consider this as a potential for a Julius Randle trade because I'm not sure if Minnesota's going to want to keep him. And we'll talk about that once we get to Minnesota. But think of Houston doing that kind of move where they get a veteran guy that will help push them into the playoffs, because Ime Udoka and that franchise are pushing only towards the playoffs and nothing else, which is very refreshing. Let's go to my New York Knicks. And this is our first championship or bust type team. They made the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, and they literally just pushed all their chips into the center of the table. They traded their 5-year cornerstone player, except obviously when Jalen came, he took over the reins of that. But Julius was the franchise until Jalen got there. Julius has just been hurt the last 2 years, ankle surgery the year before last, and then this year with the shoulder issue. It's just he just couldn't stay healthy the last 2 years. He was the comeback player of the year, I believe, or the most improved player. He was All-NBA twice. He made the All-Star team 3-4 times, so he had a very good career. But he's a rhythm player, and Jalen is the ultimate rhythm player, and Jalen is a more efficient rhythm player, so Jalen gets to stay. Julius also needs the ball in his hand, also needs to dribble, and I don't think the Knicks were confident that him and Jalen would work well together. So, I forgot with our little edit, we gotta get Cat in there. Is Julius in there? Yeah, we gotta take Julius and Dante out. Oh. All right, well, this will be the last time that you see that image. I gotta change that. Anywho, so yeah, so the Knicks are gonna go for the championship. The Celtics are in their way. The Knicks are the only team that has beaten Boston twice in Boston, and they whooped their ass twice last year, and this is without Julius. So I'm very confident against Boston. I think it's going to be a good matchup, but I do think the Knicks are the best team in the conference, or the potential to be at least in the Eastern Conference Finals. If they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, Tibbs might get some heat with his job, but we'll see. The Pelicans, I mean, they made the trade for DeJounte Murray, so I'm going to say that they're a play-in team for right now. They don't have a center at all, so I think they're going to run Zion at center, and how is that going to work against Joker and Anthony Davis? And he's slimmed down. He's lost, 40, 50 pounds? I don't know if it was Ozempic. It was something. He lost weight really fast. So we'll see what happens with them, but they got to get a center. Trey Murphy just injured his hamstring. He's going to be out 3 weeks. There was a fictitious trade rumor saying Trey Murphy for Mitchell Robinson, and that, I mean, if New Orleans thinks that they're a center away from competing for a championship, then I'm making that trade, but I don't think that's the case. They may not want to pay Trey Murphy next year or Brandon Ingram. One of them has to get traded, but nobody wants Brandon Ingram, so it might be better if they trade Trey Murphy now and get a young center on a controllable contract, or maybe think of a Wendell Carter, someone that they can use at the 5 in the stacked West, but I don't know how they function early on in the year until they make that trade. Toronto Raptors are going to be outside the play. No, you know what? They're not tanking. So they're not tanking. They gave Emmanuel Quickly $35 million. They still have RJ Barrett. They have a deep veteran roster. Sorry, I had to look up the rest of this team, but they have good rotational players. They just got Davion Mitchell in a trade. They got Emmanuel Quickly, like I said, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick is a great shooter, Scotty Barnes, Bruce Brown Jr. is a very good guy who may get flipped. Chris Boucher is still on the team. So they have a good team, and they have a good enough team to compete for a play-in spot, but I don't think ultimately this team will be more than just a play-in team. Let us check West and the T-Wolves. The T-Wolves, I think, are still going to be close, but maybe next year. I think when you lose someone like Karl-Anthony Towns, who kind of complemented Anthony Edwards perfectly as a stretch 5 and didn't need the ball and was happy to defer to Ant and to help him grow. So that's going to be a challenge because you get Julius there, and they're going to run into the same problem that they had with Jalen Brunson. It's Anthony Edwards, dribble. Julius, your turn, dribble. So it's going to kind of make a stagnant offense, I think. I think the best move is either to flip Julius Randle somewhere maybe for some draft compensation or some more expiring contracts with draft compensation, because they want to obviously be able to pay Naz Reid next year. They want to pay Neil Alexander-Walker next year, ideally. So I think their best move is to trade Julius at some point. Like I said, they gave up so much of their draft compensations for Rudy Gobert. So maybe you trade him somewhere. Think of a Miami, a Houston, somewhere that a veteran presence can work well. I think he fits honestly best in, and it hurts my stomach and soul to say it, but I think Miami is his best option to get the playing time that he needs. They have shooters on the outside. Jimmy Butler can catch and shoot play. He can also dribble, but he's versatile that he can catch and shoot. Bam Adebayo's a catch and shoot. So I think Julius at Miami would be perfect, but we'll see how it goes. I think also Houston is a good choice as well. But yeah, Minnesota, with that team, they're deep 1 through 10. They're deep 1 through 10. But at the end, is Anthony Edwards capable enough to carry this team essentially by himself in the playoffs? Because Julius is not a playoff performer. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The Bulls are definitely a Cooper Flag team. They lost Alex Caruso for essentially Josh Giddey, which was a head scratcher to say the least, because everybody was offering first round picks. They didn't take any of these trades when they had a chance at the trade deadline. And even at that trade deadline, they knew that they weren't going to go anywhere. They're going to get Lonzo Ball back, so that should be interesting. Lonzo Ball and Josh Giddey tandem at point guard is going to be very interesting to say the least. A lot of alley-oops, but we'll see how it goes. But they are a bottom-dwelling team, as much as you can call any team on this list. I don't see them winning many games at all, and they're depending on Zach LaVine to survive more than 50 games, and he already looks like he has a miserable face, but he knows that he's gonna have to play his ass off because with that contract he's essentially untradeable. But if you put him in a position where he's averaging 25 points a game and they're winning more than they're supposed to, like they're competing for a play-in or a playoff spot, some desperate team, think of the Lakers that are not going as well with their rookie coach. Think of any other team that may want to inject some life. The Warriors, somebody may take a swing on him to save their season, but he has to play great and he has to be healthy. So we'll see how that goes. The Lakers are going to be a play-in team, or they're going to compete for the play-in position again. I just don't see any change. And you know, I think the good thing about the Lakers is that they've not had a lot of turnover the last 2 years. Rob Pelinka learned from the Russell Westbrook debacle that you do not trade your future for a marginal gain. You don't trade your future, and they got rid of KCP, Kyle Kuzma, a lot of players that they could wish they could have right now on their team, and even, you know, potentially try for a repeat. I'll never understand why they listen to LeBron and Anthony Davis. You never listen to players. This is the front office. You do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do. And if they were going to say that they were going to leave, then you should have let them left. And now Rob Pelinka has put his foot down. He is not trading unless, and they have good draft picks now, because that 2029 pick and that 2031 pick, unprotected when LeBron is not on the team, because I know he's not playing the 50, but when LeBron is not on the team, is very valuable right now, and everybody wants those picks. So we'll see how it goes. If they decide to do maybe one run this year with LeBron, he may not play next year, and Bronny, and get those heartwarming, you know, farewell type of, oh, we're here, but they've not improved. They're gonna have to make a trade if they want to go further than this, and we'll see if anybody like a Levine, like I said before, or another veteran that can help them now becomes available, and if they pull that trigger. We'll see. Pistons, I'm a little more bullish on the Pistons this year. I think they're tired of losing. I think they are going to be more competitive. They got Tobias Harris. They still have Jalen Duren, who's played well. Can Corey Cunningham stay? Corey? Well, thank God I checked. Good Lord. It's Cade Cunningham. Where the hell did I get Corey? But they have Jalen Duren, like I said, coming back. Jaden Ivey is guy used to playing with the ball in his hand. They got a veteran in Tim Hardaway Jr. Wow, Malik Beasley's on the team? I had no idea. Also, Thompson, who had a really good rookie year. Paul Reed from the Sixers played really well. Isaiah Stewart, who is in rumors to get traded. He's a stretch 4 or 5. I think he would be a great player on the Knicks. Fontecchio came over from the Jazz, played really well with them. So Marcus Sasser is also good. So I think they're going to be more competitive. I don't think they're going to try. I think they're tired of getting these first round picks. You know, they want to show some upward. They've been in the bottom, I feel like, for the last 10 years. Maybe it's not been that long, but I can't remember the last time that Detroit has had a winning squad. And, you know, having the longest losing streak last year in the NBA, I don't know if it was NBA history, but what was it, like a 29, 28 game losing streak? It was ridiculous. So they definitely want to win, and they're gonna try to win as best they can. But they'll still do good business and try to, you know, make trades if they feel it's gonna benefit them. But they will not trade that pick just in case they get Cooper Flag, you know, like with the 12th pick or something. Portland is definitely going for Cooper Flag. That team is just, it's too young, it's too raw. And this is like when fans are like, oh, I want this draft pick. Oh, I want to save everybody. Oh, I just want a really young team. This is what a really young team with no veteran leadership looks like. Chauncey Billups essentially has to be the veteran leader in the locker room as well as the head coach, and that's tough to do. Anthony Simons is considered a trade piece. Jeremy Grant is also a trade piece potentially that they're going to move so they can get further in the muck to give themselves a better chance at Cooper Flag. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's going to be a long year in Portland. Now this is not that one. I gotta do one more East one. All right, the Cavs are definitely the first playoff team. I don't think they're at the level of getting to a conference finals yet, or even getting to the second round, to be honest with you. They need more than Donovan Mitchell, and I feel like they just don't have that. They have Darius Garland, who I don't know what happened to his shot. I don't know what happened to his career. He was projecting upwards for so long. Maybe Donovan taking all the touches has kind of shaken his confidence, but Jared Allen, I think, is probably going to end up getting traded sooner rather than later. They have a new head coach in Kenny Atkinson from Golden State, so maybe their offense will be a little bit better. It's just going to be kind of tough, I feel like, for them to get past the first or the second round. The East is a little bit top heavy this year with 4 solidified 1 through 4s, and they're just on that outside. So do they even win a first round series? And I can't see them beating Milwaukee, Philly, or New York in that 4-5 matchup at best constituted. What Cleveland has to hope for is to get off to a hot start and maybe start like 15-4 or something and kind of coast the rest of the year and get one of those top 3 spots so that you can get a lower ranked team that's outside of Milwaukee, New York, and Boston, and Philadelphia. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't like Cleveland's chances this year to get far in the playoffs. The Nuggets are... I'm not going to drop them off the complete champ. I'm going to say close. I'm going to say this team has the potential to be a conference finalist. Even with losing KCP, they still have the best player in the world in the Joker. They still have, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray. Is he going to get, his shot back? Is he going to get back into rhythm? And I think people are overstating KCP's loss. Ryan Braun can hit an open 3. And he's learned a lot from him. I think it's his time to kind of step up. And he's a dog defensively, and he's a really good wing defender. So I think this is the year that he makes his leap, and he's very aggressive to the basket. I see why they kind of let KCP go, especially in this new era with the salary cap and the first threshold, the second threshold. It's just, it's like the NFL. You got to make really tough choices, especially on veteran players that are expensive. So I think they're going to compete. I think they have a potential to make a conference run. I actually like them as a better chance of making it to the conference finals over Minnesota. I think Denver is going to be that good. And just when you have a glitch like the Joker, it's kind of hard to kind of go against that. Boston is obviously the defending champions, and they are going for their repeat in the championship. I very much see them as the odds-on favorite to win the championship. I just think people are not thinking of what the Knicks are going to be able to do. It's just, yeah, Boston won by a lot last year, but they had KP to help start the season off hot. They weren't coming off of a championship. Now there's expectations. How getting a back-to-back is so difficult, but I like the way what this franchise has done, and they are going into horrific tax territory because I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are the two highest paid players in the NBA, or they have the richest contracts. So you have two of those players on your team. You have Drew Holiday making a lot of money. You have KP making a lot of money, and they're about to make a sale on their team. There's a lot of distractions with this team. I don't think they're going to be able to run the focus. And let's be honest, last year, and you need luck to win a championship. I'm not saying you don't, but they were extremely lucky that most of the Eastern Conference was injured by the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But I just think there's too many distractions and too many things going on and too many people hunting them. And everybody got better in the East. Everybody's trending upward or staying kind of close to where they were in the West. So I think it's going to be a lot harder year for the Celtics than most people think. And again, you're depending on Al Horford, who's 40-something years old or close to 40, holding up. He can't play back-to-backs and no KP. So I am selling the Celtics as a stock if I had to make a bet.